Amish Matchmakers.
Good morning.
And we help singles find godly spouses, create epic marriages, and develop legacy through rooted in faith and freedom. That's what we do. We love what we do. We're back. Thank you, babe, for joining me. My queen, my bride. Love you. Appreciate you. Today's topic with the men was about commitment. Kind of give you an overview of what we discussed, and then we'll get into some questions. Fair enough? Okay. So for you ladies watching, and even men watching right now, this has been kind of my flow as I speak to the men about these things and then confirm the women's perspective, a wife and woman's perspective. So women, as you're watching this, feel free to jump on and communicate and make comments. We definitely appreciate the comments and things too, as well, as we are doing this, because we love the feedback. We love the interaction. There we go. So, and we will answer questions and things as we go as well, as you place them on there. So what I opened with the men today was about commitment. And commitment is what separates the boys from the men and the men from the leaders. So the higher level of commitment creates a higher level of even leadership, commitment to yourself, commitment to others. And it does make a powerful process. And as we were talking and chatting it up this morning with the men, what we recognize is that commitment is more natural and easier for a woman than it is for a man. It's something that is taught. It's a skill in everyone, but I believe like women tend to have an easier time of being committed. I think because like when they give birth to a child, like their body, soul, and spirit is in that commitment. I'm witnessing it firsthand for the first time in my life, going through a pregnancy with somebody so close to me, our daughter Hazel. It's interesting how, you know, I am on my final marriage. I had a marriage before too, as well, and again, never having a biological child of my own through this process. It's very fascinating just to now experience that and go through the pregnancy and the ultrasound and lots of cool things with Hazel. What a blessing and a privilege, and seeing the body changing, her body shifting. Um, yeah, it's quite a commitment there when your whole body's involved. So you're committed mentally, emotionally, and physically, relationally, like it's full on in a pregnancy. So it does seem like to me that commitment comes more natural to women. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And what we determined too, as we were discussing this, there's lots of ways we can go with this on commitment. But what we decided this morning as men is commitment is doing the right thing even when you don't feel like it. And part of it was talking to the men about getting up in the morning, 5 a.m. and meeting me. And I have some men that are getting up at 4 to give me a shout out and joining me in a different time zone. So I was really impressed with that. And so, yeah, what is commitment? That's how we defined it. There's a lot more to it. Steady, dependable, consistent, trustworthy. My word is my bond. And then going through with the men, why women value commitment most. And so again, calling it out for married men, single men, but now, and also talking about the men of the Bible, the men of the word, whether it's the Torah or the canon, the Old or New Testament, there's very many powerful men and great examples of commitment throughout the Bible. Super awesome. From Jesus to David to Joseph to Abraham to even Boaz. That story of Boaz being committed to Ruth. So, and things that men face with commitment is fear of failure, responsibility. They want quick results instead of the long term. being tired, distractions, old patterns of running. No one taught them how to stay put. No one taught them how to be committed. And what commitment looks like is communicating, doing the hard stuff, and also doing things what we do when no one else is looking as well, when there is no accountability. Um, what does that look like? That's where true leadership comes in, and how to build commitment. So we talked about that as well, ways to build commitment, how they could be committed through this process. So, anyways, now to the questions. Um, well, there we go. For women. All right, here we go. So now, as I described it and kind of what I went over with the men, what would be your definition from a woman's perspective? What would commitment look like to a woman? How would you describe it?
Like a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But I mean, one thing that stands out is the way that we're communicating, you know. I think the communication of, you know, like that brings security, right? Communication that represents like I'm here for the long haul. All I, you know what I mean? Because there's it kind of ties back into the confidence thing when a man's behavior isn't confident, it brings insecurity, right? And in that insecurity, it creates a fear that they're not committed,
Yeah.
right? That they're just gonna walk away, they're gonna give up, they're gonna, you know what I mean? And so
the lack of stability too is a big deal for women.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And, you know, I mean, in previous relationships, that was a big deal for me, constantly being threatened that that we were done. It was, you know, here I had fully committed to this family, and to have that be a constant threat anytime there was conflict, anytime there was something, is one of my deepest traumas, to be honest with you. So it's the communication, and so that's why I say it stems from the insecurity, the lack of confidence in him, you know, that brought that out, right? It's, you know, and that's it kind of, you know, really shows it's kind of like well, I'm gonna leave you before you leave me type of deal, right? That is a self-preservation mode that I think, you know, not just men go into, but definitely when a man is insecure, he definitely goes there.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. It's a confidence thing for sure. I realize that men have to work on confidence in order to communicate well and be committed.
That's why commitment is after the confidence and communication, because it definitely impacts their level of commitment.
So what we're referring to is the 3 C's of love, 3 C's of intimacy, that we have realized that developing these 3 things will create better intimacy, better connection, deeper, more meaningful relationships, confidence, communication, commitment. And so just to kind of give you an understanding of what we're referring to. So what's interesting though is I realize like men work on confidence first, and yet women are committed. Like that's already the thing that they have. That's natural for a woman, more natural for a woman, but yet a different kind of commitment has to be taught to be committed to a relationship and connection as well, right? And communicate well. And then it's almost like then they have to develop the confidence too. It's like the other direction. I was thinking about this morning, again off topic, but it's fascinating to study people and learn about men and women and their different modalities. Like men definitely need confidence first, where women are committed first, naturally. Um, and then they have to learn how to communicate and then learn how to be more confident in their communication. And it's interesting because they're, does that make sense what I'm saying? It's like we meet in the middle where women naturally are more committed. Men are naturally more confident, actually, when it comes to like work and physical fitness and stability and their strength, right? Because testosterone is a level of confidence that, when nurtured and developed, it is more natural for a man, where then a woman has to work on her communication and then become more confident and tap into that type of confidence.
It also requires confidence to communicate.
It does.
So,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
it definitely does.
Intrinsically, yes, we have a different level of commitment, but I would say it's still the same order for women. You need confidence to be able to communicate.
Right. I just,
especially when a man operates from his strength and power, and we're, I think that's where a lot of women let their discernment be swayed or be influenced by a man, or you know what I mean? And so that's where this tug of war is. I think women definitely have, it's part of our working on our identity and valuing who we are as a woman and what we naturally intrinsically have. Yes. Right? We bring to the table that beautiful discernment, that beautiful gift of, again, being committed and I want to say, biblically speaking, like the long suffering, like women have an innate ability
100%
to be in it for the long haul.
Yes.
To not, we don't get swayed. I mean,
That's what commitment is, long suffering.
Right.
100%.
Right. But so, identity, I think the identity of understanding the value and being able to communicate when we have the discernment and, be strong in that
Yes.
is something that we need to work on as women.
Yeah, 100%. It's good. So it's interesting because normal in a let's see, statistically, normally women are more verbal processors than men, right? And it's in a like, there's lots of data out there that women speak like 100 words to a man's 1 word or something like that. Like by noon, women have spoken more words than
I can't relate to that.
I know, but that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's interesting about us, Chantel and I, because what's normal is, and the average is not with us. Like, I'm definitely more the verbal processor. So I'm not the normal kind of guy, and she's definitely more the like deeper thinker in that way and less words. So, but that's not the case with the average couples. So this is why it's great that we are examples of this, because what the normal and what the average couple is the woman's more of the verbal processor. And what I'm recognizing is she will do that. She's willing and does process more verbally in a natural way because of her commitment.
Yeah.
And her ability to be committed. She will communicate because of her commitment. Where a man is confident in work, and I'm willing to communicate because I'm confident. I've got this machismo, like testosterone, but I'm only going to communicate on my terms, right? It's more of it comes from a place of confidence as a man, like, you don't speak to me that way or whatever. Like, we have to be spoken to a certain way, or we're just not going to talk. Like, men normally are that way. They have all this confidence and we're working everything, and they just kind of sit back and they're just let the woman talk. I mean, that's the scenarios we see played out all the time, all the time, all the time. Like, and the women do all the talking, right? It's real. And men have to learn how to communicate, but then they don't have the confidence to communicate because they haven't done it and don't do it very often. Like, my mom says, I came out of the womb talking. Like, that's me. That's my gift, I guess, in a sense, because most men don't do that. Again, It's really interesting how that's conveyed. But I bring that up because I can see how the 3 C's of intimacy and connection, how then men rely on confidence a lot, but more in work, not in communication. They will communicate, but normally it's not very beneficial. They don't want to validate because their communication comes from a place of like testosterone, like,
well, they just don't know how.
Yeah, agreed. And then you've got women who are committed naturally, more naturally, and it's in them to be committed. They have a child, but then when it comes to communication, they communicate from a place of commitment, and that's I can see where a lot of conflict comes in. She's communicating from a place of communication. He or commitment, excuse me, commitment. He's communicating from a place when not refined through training and teaching. He's communicating from a place of authority and confidence, right?
An ego.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a different kind of communication when it comes from commitment versus confidence. At least what men think is confidence. Mm-hmm. So that's what's fun about doing this is like talk to the men first and then now clarify with a woman's perspective what that looks like. But this is very powerful. Like in my talk this morning, it actually invoked in me the power and the importance of commitment. Like you have to have it, man. Like you in commitment comes when no one's looking, commitment comes where we're the first ones up, commitment comes like that's the calling of a man because we can. We can function on 6 hours sleep. Seriously, you can, man. I know ideally a 7 is the golden number, perfection. And it is. By the way, that's a good way to remember it. 7, they call it the number of God, like God number, and that's the number of hours men should strive for and work towards. And that is where, after 7 hours, the peak starts going down of the benefits. But for women, they require estrogen requires more sleep. So again, this is the reality and the understanding of our physical makeup. Even men do not belong in women's sports. It's real. It's like I'm serious. 100% agree with that. And so, and look, if men have a problem with women being in men's sports, you need to check your ego. Like, seriously. But I 100% agree that men don't belong in women's sports for sure. It's just totally different physical makeup, different chromosomes that give us a different advantage by design.
Yeah.
So, and give us confidence in a natural sense. All right. So now we talked a little bit about what commitment looks like. How does a woman feel when a man is consistent? There's so many different ways. This is why we're going to keep talking about these 3 items: confidence, communication, commitment, because you can apply it to 10 million different topics. I'm serious. And you're going to find that if you really start recognizing it. But in this particular case, what I want to talk about is getting into what makes a woman feel. How does a woman feel when a man is consistent and dependable, follows through with things that he says he's going to do? A man with a plan that takes action on it, though, not just talks, right? But a lot of men don't even talk about it. The wife will say, nag, and finally say, okay, I'll get up and I'll do my, connection to God or whatever may happen. And so then what does it feel like, though, for a woman?
It's so funny because we've talked about like the love languages, but I would say that that's a general love language of women. Like I think that it really does show love. It's a way to show love, and you know again, going back to like the safety and security, yeah, because you know when you talk about men being more not the verbal processors, so if men aren't talking about it, what they're doing is actually proving their love. Right, their actions are what is the display, is what we have to go off of. Again, I have an exception with a verbal processor. He's constantly communicating his love, and he has to work to not miss the action in that too, right? Because he's so good at verbally communicating. So I think understanding that the consistency and dependability is communication. It's communication of your love and your commitment. Yes.
Well, interesting enough, like I'm just really processing and thinking back. That whole thing about me being a verbal processor. I it's there was a point in my childhood where I remember um I believe this may happen to all men. I believe we're all born verbal. Like little children talk,
Sure.
right? Little children are always asking questions. There comes a point where society puts it on men and women, that whole thing, right? About even how men are better at math, supposedly, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that society does that assumes, they have assumptions, and even this that a man. But I remember as a child, there was an opportunity, a point in my life as a child, even that I can remember consciously thinking as a child, if I want to be introvert, I want to be in. It's a fun fact about me. I love classical music. I actually enjoy being alone. I, I went in the desert for 3 days by myself, and there are certain aspects where I can definitely say there's so much peace in that. And I have worked that muscle so much. But I remember as a child making a decision that if it's going to seem suspicious and strange if I'm quiet and introverted, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want to be weird. And so it's like consciously making that effort of like, okay, I am going to be more outgoing. I want to be introvert. I want to be quiet, but I'm going to make a decision that and it was actually out of fear that I made that decision. Fear of people wondering what's wrong with me. Why am I being so quiet and not communicating? Why do I want to stand up, be alone?
Why have I withdrawn?
Yeah, why? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that case, I knew in that moment, it's kind of like, yeah, never mind, that's squirrel.
Survival.
Yes. And so I did it. And I remember that moment as a little child, even making that decision. And I've done it ever since then. And matter of fact,
well, you bring
to
up
a craziness,
yeah.
Like to where it's chatter at times.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You bring up a good point. That's a trauma response, right? So there's natural and then there's trauma responses, and so you know we can look at adult behavior and see, like you said, the chatter. When people chatter and they just keep talking and talking and talking and they don't stop, and you know what I mean? That's it's a
I feel comfortable with silence now.
well, it's a protection, right? It's protection because if there's quiet space, then there's opportunity for maybe a revealing,
That's right.
right?
So true.
Of something deeper. And
That's
so that's an innate trained behavior went from a trauma response.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, interesting. And probably similar as well, because normally, naturally, women are more verbal processors. I'm sure there's things in your life if we unpacked it. Point is, like, there's always something that we make decisions in our life. That's what we talk about. Churches of Triumph. The story creates then who we are becoming. And so I've literally, I remember it was just 2 anniversaries ago, 3, where we were in North Carolina.
Mhm.
Was that 2 or 3?
Yeah.
What was that, 2023?
Yeah.
Something like that. And we did a thing like this, and she's like, we're going to watch it. I'm like, okay. And then we started watching it. I was like, that's disgusting. And I kept interrupting her. I didn't give her space to talk. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to face the fact that I cannot shut up.
So now I'm gonna exercise the muscle of shutting up.
Well, it's like, even I notice it with food. Like, I eat fast. I've got this horrible habit of being in a hurry with my food, and like, I got to get to the next appointment, and we unpacked that a little bit. And my mom even admitted it. We had this conversation. I think it was even this Thanksgiving. It was one of her visits recently where we were talking about this, how we were so poor, and there was 5 kids in the home, and she would, well, there's 3 in the beginning, but yeah, so she would make food, and she would always dish up the first serving. And if you wanted, everyone got equal portion, male and female. Then there's us boys. There was 3 of us boys during that time in that family time, and she would dish everyone up equal amounts, and then what was left is first come first serve. So you had to eat your food fast so you can get seconds. And it's really crazy how that exercise that muscle then of like, oh, seconds. And we talked about this. Like, I have this weird thing about believing I need seconds at every meal. I don't care where I am. Even if we're going out to eat, I'll finish my meal and then I'm looking to see if she's going to finish hers, or my daughter is going to finish hers. And like, if not, that's my seconds. Can I have some of your food? It's really interesting. And so it created this muscle and this habit in me. And so then I do eat fast. And so the other day she was like, good job. I actually finished before you. I'm like, I know, I'm working on it. Like, just pausing, breathing for a minute, and eating slower.
Mm-hmm.
So again, all these programmings, all these habits from our childhood, it does affect us.
So back to consistent and dependable.
Yes. Commitment. The power of commitment. All right. So here we go. When a man is consistent and dependable, okay, what is the difference? Got our little prompter over here. What is the difference between saying you're committed and showing you're committed?
Action.
Words versus, because again, media and a verbal processor. You know, she's constantly like, hey, don't tell me, show me, let's go. She's a master activator, by the way. Super blessed to be married to her. Master at being committed to things.
Yeah.
Most committed woman on the planet. Seriously. I'm super grateful. She gets pulled in a lot of directions because of her commitment and her level of commitment.
So the difference between saying you're committed and showing you're committed is action. Quit talking. Just do it.
And it starts first thing in the morning, would you say? In reality, like the practical thing of a man getting up early, that speaks volumes. Wouldn't you agree with that? Getting up before his wife.
Sure.
And even a single woman, if the single men, are sleeping till noon, or their job doesn't start till 9 and they get up at 8:30, like just enough time to drive to work, put on some clothes, brush their teeth, and go to work. Like, what does that say to a woman that's single and a man that's not willing to invest in himself to build skills? And it's probably why he's single. I mean, really. But women see this. Like, how many times have our clients trusted a man just because he invested in himself and was working with us?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we heard that?
A lot. For sure.
I was talking to Richard this morning about this. He joined me on the thing this morning. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to have that discussion with him. And I remember that with Lavina.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she perked up like, wait, I know Richard. And wait, he invested himself on this too? It was like instant, like, it was like just from him making that decision was instant attraction, instant, like, because they had some history. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
wow.
Well, I mean, that's really what made me want to be with you was your investment in yourself and your willingness to do the hard things. It was your action in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That was the most attractive quality, because in my experience, I had never experienced that to that level.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, growing up in an environment where I was always working on myself.
Yeah.
My mom was a hypnotherapist. I grew up working through any trauma that happened. Like, that was a normal practice for me. And then, men in my life somehow seemed to feel or think that their shit didn't stink and that they had nothing to work on. Right? And they had egos.
That's a typical man.
Yeah, but
really.
they had, honestly, the egos are the size of the US, and like, you just like, you don't have anything that you need to work through. Like, that was a definite struggle. as a single woman who was always learning and growing and wanting, personal growth and, so yeah, that was probably the highest, level of intrigue that I had with you of, all right, yeah, okay, so what? He had a failed marriage and, came out of a toxic relationship. I see his action now. I see that he wants to do something different. Yeah. And he's gonna do whatever it takes to do something different. And that intentionality is huge,
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting because I remember being willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, you bring up a great point because I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to just slip in a little comment here about who we work with. We work with Amish. And I realize the Amish men. So when we work with Amish, if you know the background of Amish, they are committed to a culture, but also a religion that is highly controlling at certain levels and different conservative levels,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't have electricity, don't have vehicles. That's the highly conservative. Once Amish, always Amish, by the way. It's a language, it's a culture. But the religious side of it, they definitely go towards more freedom. Well, the men that we work with understand that their understanding of freedom is different, and it is interesting because they're willing and teachable and coachable because they've left a high control level of high control religion, and so they're like, I need some support here, I need some mentorship. It's interesting. That's why 80% of our clientele are Amish, come from the Amish background, or Anabaptists to be more specific, because we have Mennonite as well. But I'm realizing that's why that we've had such success with them too as well, is because they are humble, because they are coming from that high control and they're looking for,
well, I think
help essentially.
I think here's the other thing, in working with kids, abused and neglected kids, right? When we understand that confidence and security comes from structure.
Yeah.
Too. So, you take somebody who's been in a high control religion, there is an extreme amount of structure, right? So, then you have somebody who's left the religion, but they still feel safe and are able to thrive in a structure. So, I think that's where, our process is beneficial because there is, there's action steps for us personally. It was created out of the innate need for practical application in our lives, right? And so we created that intentionality. But again, I came from a high control religion as well, right? Coming from, the Mormon religion, like I understand that, plus also working with abused and neglected kids at a children's shelter, the human psyche, with all of our nuances, all of our emotional baggage and traumas, we require a structure that is healthy. And, again, then going into community. So I think that's more of the thing. So
No, that's fascinating. Fascinating of why it works too so well.
mm-hmm.
Because their willingness to be committed. They understand commitment in that way, because commitment is proven through the repetition too.
Yeah.
The willingness to do it anyways.
Yeah. And I think, you're right, coming from the Amish culture, the commitment is more ingrained.
Well, let me ask you, could you, if you're not Amish and listening to this, could you drive a horse and buggy and do without electricity, knowing that your neighbor right next door to you has a fast car and has, electricity and all the amenities that come with electricity?
I mean, the amount of time it requires to get from one place to another.
True commitment.
Yeah, especially
Saddle that horse up or put the horse and buggy together.
colder weather. You're
Yep.
bundling up kids. You're talking like an insane amount of commitment.
And their range is about 15 miles. Now they do hire drivers and stuff like that, but we're talking the conservative side and the daily activities that they experience with their horse and buggy and no electricity. It's crazy.
For sure.
And in some cases, no plumbing. So again, that's commitment. So it is powerful to see. That's why we've had such success with the Amish and why we're known as Amish Matchmakers, because the singles that we work with follow directions and are committed and understand commitment. It's interesting though, because we have to evolve with working with them to where we help them to see that you don't really need us because you're smart and you've got the tools and the strategies and the skills, but we're going to help you get there faster by yoking together and working together. Mm-hmm. There's strength in numbers. There's wisdom in a multitude of counsel. Like that's the word of God. And so it's like, well, it's you don't need us.
It's community. It's support.
That's right.
Love.
That's right. You don't need us, but you're going to get there faster. Yeah. And we have been through it. So you put a beautiful post out the other day and a picture of a mentor. And it was like this big mouse with his arm around the little mouse. And they're walking away and you see all these mouse traps on the bigger mouse's tail, like 10 of them and one on the little mouse. Like, this is what mentorship is about. We're just helping you avoid the traps of life, the pitfalls, helping you map it out and navigate it because we've done it already, and not just with one or two, but thousands at this point, this many years later. So, okay. All right. What is the difference between saying you're... Okay, we just said that. Why do women lose trust when man breaks small commitments? It's really interesting. Small. This isn't big commitments. Why is it that the daily routines, the daily design matter so much to a woman? What does that message convey when they create a structure together?
Well, again, it's action, right? It's the action. And it also then goes and represents value, valuing my time, valuing my relationship, our connection. So again, it's proving through your actions.
And so it's even a muscle, right? Commitment is. It's a muscle they've got to work.
Yeah.
More so in men than women. It's really interesting. That's what we literally are working towards all the time, is helping men to be more committed and helping women to be more confident. Mm-hmm. All right. For married women, what makes you feel most secure in a man's long-term commitment?
I guess being included in the vision of the future.
And the decisions of that.
Yeah, having a place, a voice.
It's good. It's really good. And that's culture we deal with too. A lot of times the men are dominant in the Amish culture, and they make the decisions, and the wives are just supposed to follow along and take care of the children. And so again, the yoke is the great equalizer. And shifting that mindset around that, what that looks like. Because that can create codependency, there's no doubt in that sense. Or even cause a woman to shrink back.
Well, yeah. Because then, they're just reiterating the old story of your voice doesn't matter, right? Maybe from their upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think having a voice is a big part of it.
It's good. It's good. It's really good. All right. How can a man rebuild trust?
We've skipped 7.
Oh, for single women now. What shows a man is serious about pursuing you?
Intentionality, prioritizing time, connection, for sure.
So again, in this world we live in with so many distractions, how important is it for a man to check in with a woman? Because we've seen that a lot too, where the wives, or not the wives even, it's the in a dating relationship, right? We've seen that a lot, that the women tend to be the ones that are reaching out communicating more than the men.
Then they feel like the man's ghosting them, and there's this whole like culture around ghosting.
Yeah.
Right. So it's intentionality, and you know, it's so funny because just having a conversation with one of our clients who is pursuing a woman, he was sharing with us, all of the different times he has set up for what purpose. And that was really refreshing. It's cool to see action being taken practically, right? And so there's no doubt, right? You don't leave room for doubt or insecurities when you are intentional and you've set it up um, ahead of time and you follow through with your commitments.
Absolutely. And there is a strategy to this. And next Thursday there will be an event, a webinar for singles, and it's going to be powerful. If you're single or you know someone who's single, it's a free webinar. Can't get any better than that. And they're going to drop some strategies and skills on you. We happen to know them very well, Jesse and Adina Kaufman. We mentored them and developed them. They just had their 5-year anniversary. That's fruit. That's results. We helped them come together and find that just what we do. Single. We help single Amish singles to find a godly spouse, and that's what we did with Jesse. And he found Irina, and they connected, and we did their wedding right here in our home 5 years ago, just a little over 5 years. And this past November was their anniversary, and it's super powerful to see them grow as leaders. And now they're leading a webinar next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, and it's for singles. They actually have a community, single to married. You can look it up, single to married. It's single and then the number 2 married and / school, SKOOL.
School.com
/
single to married.
There you go. See? But that's where they're going to be hosting this webinar. They have a 7-day free trial. You can get in there, check out the community, mingle, get to know some other singles. Seriously, it's what it's for. And learn the strategies and skills. If you're a man, to make you more confident to communicate better with a woman. If you're a woman, to make you communicate better and empower yourself, strengthen your confidence. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be powerful. Go check it out. Seriously, it's worth it. I wanted to put that plug in there because Jesse and Adina are doing an amazing job, and they're willing to do this webinar to help you and give you an opportunity to see what their community is like, and developing those skills is what's really, really important. So check it out. We can put a link, send us a message, and we'll send you that link to join. We have a little affiliate link with them that they've given us to allow us to benefit as well if people choose to join. Being real with you. But again, we endorse them highly. There's no better community that you could be a part of. They utilize all the skills that we talk about. They use our content. We've given them permission and given them a blessing to utilize it in their community, and it's working incredibly well. So, and when you graduate and get married, you come to Epic Your Life community, and we help you develop your legacy and develop an epic marriage and continue to pursue each other in a positive way. So, all right, what shuts a woman down when it comes to commitment? What shuts down a woman's willingness to be committed to a man and to a relationship? What shuts it down the fastest?
When she can't trust him to follow through. I mean, it's the law of reciprocity.
And it's amazing because women are so patient. They really are. In a natural sense, they are. Especially after they have children and raise children, they're like really more patient. They start to see, oh, that husband of mine, he's like just a grown boy. A boy in a man's body. So, but it shouldn't require that, men. We can do hard things. We can follow through and be committed. Having small daily acts like of kindness, tone, communication. How does that show a woman that he's committed? The little things. I want you to just give some nuggets to the men that are listening and to the women, how to encourage their husbands, their boyfriends on what will speak to them, because women do really, really, really appreciate commitment. So, what are some of the little things a man can do?
Well, we talked about last night, like the things that men, just coming home from work and wanting to not do anything, but it's like the small acts of, like, even jumping in, helping with dishes or making a coffee, or those kind of things, like playing team in the small ways, in the little things. um Cleaning up after yourself versus letting the woman just handle everything all the time, right? I mean, those are small acts of, and then of course, the daily commitment of, you know, honoring your word if you've, and time, honoring her time too,
Epic 30.
you know.
That's a big deal.
Well, and I think, again, going back to even checking in on, you know, you say like a man or a woman loves a man with a plan, and also a woman loves to be honored in her time too, because just because she's taking care of a home doesn't mean she doesn't have a schedule and a time frame. So honoring that too is a small act of um, commitment to just, I don't know, let her know she's valued and her time is valuable
It's
too.
good. Showing up on time for dinner. It's been a big deal for us. Like when the food's hot. Not what I mean, you're not coming in 10, 15 minutes late after it's cold and getting cold. That's a big deal to Chantel. It is. And knowing what's a big deal to your wife matters, you know? If that's probably a big deal for them, because again, shows that I value her time and her commitment to bring a nice meal. So it's the little things like that that matter. So
Awesome.
that's a wrap. We gotta head out to our next appointment. Our next goal in life, health and fitness. So God bless you, all of you, for being with us, and thank you back for your time and being willing to answer some of these questions to help people in relationship. And we are Carlos and Chantel, the Amish Matchmakers. We help singles to find a godly spouse and have epic marriages, and then create legacies that are rooted in faith and freedom. Have a blessed day. We'll see you on the next live.